everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rene, and I am a public school teacher turned homeschool mom of 2 boys. And today we are going to be talking all about the Math with Confidence math program. I'm going to be talking about the good things about this program, the stuff that I don't love about it, all my favorite tips and tricks, my favorite supplementary materials, what I use in my math kit, and all the stuff you'd want to know before using this math curriculum. If you're new here, welcome. On my channel, I share stuff about homeschooling, motherhood, adoption, so if you're interested in any of that, definitely go ahead and go down and click that subscribe button, the like button, and go and check out my channel after this video. All right, and without further ado, let's jump into our review. So today, guys, again, we are going to be talking about Math with Confidence by Kate Snow. This is an elementary math program. It's eventually going to go from kindergarten through 6th grade. Right now, they only have levels K through 4 out. With a level being released each year. So I think next year 5th grade will be out, and then the year after that 6th grade. So it's almost complete. So if you're just now starting it, it'll definitely be finished when you are ready to be using it. So I did finish this curriculum with my eldest, like I said, for kindergarten this year. I was a little bit hesitant to jump into this curriculum just because it is a newer curriculum, so I don't feel like, it's been fully time tested. But I will say the author, I forget her exact degrees that she has, but I know she's got very advanced degrees in math and elementary education. So she's very educated on how to write a math program for kids. And then you can also see on her website that she did a ton of research while doing this program, looking at other math curriculums and things and comparing them. So I do feel like, this was very thoughtfully put together and very vetted and all of that. I will say one thing that I think is unique about this program that is really different from anything else that's out there is it is a blend of mastery and spiral. So if you're not familiar with what I mean by that, so a mastery program is when the kids spend several weeks on one concept so that they can really go deep into that concept and really understand it rather than just moving on to the next thing each day. And then a spiral is when you have consistent review built into the curriculum, so the kids are getting to revisit those same topics and try them again, all of that. And kind of traditionally with math, you will kind of see one or the other. For example, Saxon Math is really well known for being spiral, so they just introduce new concepts every day and you have constant review. Whereas a curriculum like Math UC is mastery, where they spend a really long time on just one concept. I really feel like Math with Confidence is that perfect medium. It really has both. You do spend several weeks on one concept, but she also has review and spiral built in with the warm-ups and things and on the worksheets so that you're continuing to review everything that you've learned and build upon that knowledge. So I really do feel like that's one of the biggest things that drew me to this program. Something else I loved about Math with Confidence and why we chose it personally was that it had kind of that newer math, that conceptual math and that number sense and all that stuff that kind of the rest of the world is really going for right now. But then it also still just had the practical, learn your math facts and do math stuff too. It had both. And so I just really feel like this is the math curriculum for the modern day, if that makes sense. So I really, really love this program. It's also really, really fun. Most kids, if you talk to them about this program, what they think about it, they'll tell you it's the fun math. It's got tons of games and activities, and both me and my son really enjoyed it. It's also super open and go. I hardly had to do any prep, if at all. Most of the time I didn't even look at the lesson before we sat down. And as long as you have your books and your math kit, you're good to go. So it was great for me as a working homeschool parent to be able to use it. So those are some of the reasons why we chose the program. So now let me kind of show you a little bit about what's inside it. So with Math with Confidence, you will get your teacher guide and your student workbook, and that is it. That's all it comes with. I believe right now the kindergarten level sells for about $40 on Amazon, so it is also very affordable. I mean, for a whole year's worth of math program that's this good, that's pretty good. Obviously, you will need a few math manipulatives that you'll have in your math kit. For my math kit, I just keep mine in this little clear box here, and it's just different things that I've picked up along the way. You can find a lot of these items at the dollar store, Target Dollar Spot, Walmart. So you can put together this math kit pretty cheaply. If you do want to buy a math kit already pre-made, I do know Rainbow Resources sells a pre-made math kit for Math with Confidence, but honestly it's probably a lot cheaper just to do it yourself. So those are both options, but either way, this is a very affordable program. So in your teacher guide, it is pretty thick, you can see. And I will say the teacher guide in this program is non-negotiable. It's the meat of the program. Honestly, you'd be better off having the teacher guide and not the student workbook than vice versa. You cannot live without this teacher guide. So I know some programs, you can kind of skip the teacher's guide and just get the student stuff and make it work, but this is not one of those programs. You absolutely need this teacher's guide. So if we look up in this teacher's guide, the teacher's guide is all black and white, so it's not like super fun to look at as a parent, but the student workbook is super colorful and fun. So for the student side, it's really nice. So for the teacher workbook, this is kind of what a typical lesson might look like. So it's usually split up into like a review and warm up, which will usually be some kind of like spiral game or review of something that you've learned previously. And then they'll have in some sort of activity, which is something you'll do with your student. So it could be a game, or it could be like a kind of like a math art project, or something else. And then after the activity, that's when you'll go to the workbook page and you'll kind of practice whatever skill you learned in the activity in the workbook. So you kind of have that like review spiral, learn the new concept through the fun activity with the parent, and then do the workbook page to practice. And that's kind of how each day for the most part goes. And again, these lessons are just chock full of different games and fun things. Like for example, I know like a warm-up game that was really common was like to do like some sort of card game, like playing like war or something to talk about like numbers that are bigger and smaller. Or like an activity might be to go outside and grab like, groups of 3, like 3 twigs and three leaves and 3 whatever, and do some sort of art project with that. Or an activity might be to go around your house and find things that are bigger and smaller if you're doing like measurements or whatever. So lots of very hands-on fun activities, but they really don't require any prep. Like again, most of the time I wouldn't even look at this lesson before sitting down. So even though they're fun and hands-on, they're also very low prep activities. So they're very easy for you as the parent to just, go on the fly. Even some of the, like there's occasionally there'll be an activity that requires like a specific thing. Like I remember one of the activities required like different size straws, and so you would need to have some straws cut up. Well, I didn't do that ahead of time, so I just ended up using some strips of paper, and sometimes it might require like 3 or 4 toys, and so I just have my son go grab a few Hot Wheels, so it's nothing major that you're gonna have to prepare ahead of time. And then for the workbook pages, they're really, really colorful. They've got lots of fun different activities on here, things that you draw, things that you color. You'll see numbers, represented in lots of different ways. My son loved these dot to dots. Just lots and lots of fun stuff in here. Lots of pictures that are helpful for kids just, learning math. This is obviously the kindergarten level, so lots of helpful things. And one thing I loved about the kindergarten level is that it had these numbers at the top so that kids could practice writing. So that was really, really helpful for a kid, just beginning math and still learning how to write and stuff. So we really, really enjoyed this workbook. For the kindergarten level, it's just 1 page a day, which is very, very doable and easy. So we really, really enjoyed this workbook and getting to do it. My son was always happy to do math because he knew it was going to be fun and it was going to be short and just very age appropriate. But even though this workbook, might seem kind of simple on the surface, I cannot stress enough how amazing this teacher guide is and has all of the activities in here. I think especially at this kindergarten level, the definite biggest growth I saw with my son was his number sense. Because in this program, they don't just, teach you how to add numbers. They teach you how to add numbers, but also add with manipulatives, but also add with tallies, and also add with money, and also add with dice. They're just using numbers in so many different ways, and it's just so good. I just saw my son understand numbers so much better, and he was able to tell me, what was big and what was small, and how these added together, how these subtracted together, and it was amazing to see his growth through math with this program. So that's kind of like the general setup. I'll go ahead and show you real quick what's in my math kit, and then I'm going to tell you kind of some of the things that I didn't love about this program. So for my math kit, again, I have it in just this clear bin. It's about like a shoebox size. And honestly, you can see there's still tons of room in here, so you could even do a smaller box than this. So what I have in here is just a basic 99-cent ruler. We use this on the measurement week. My favorite counters to use and for math is these little erasers. So I just have this little Ziploc bag of erasers. I got my son a sports theme one because he's really into sports right now. What I love about using erasers as counters is, one, they're really small, so they fit on the tin frame really nicely, because you will use some tin frames and things in this program, and so it's nice to have manipulatives that will fit on the little tin frame squares. And I also like that they don't make noise, you know, because they're erasers. They don't have like clackety sounds. I find that my son can be very distracted by manipulatives. So having something that's quiet and isn't like, you know, tempting to make noise or, you know, rattle it around or whatever was nice. And erasers don't slide easy because they have some grip to them, so they don't like fall off the table as easy as some other manipulatives might. So I really, really love these mini erasers. You can get any kind of variety you want on Amazon. I mean, unicorns, rainbows, bears, whatever your kid is into, you can get them. And then I have this little kind of game box. I just made this myself. I had these little plastic containers left over from my days as a teacher. And I put a deck of cards in here, some dice, and then these are little like bingo, those little bingo circles you can use to play games with. I love these dice. They're foam dice, so again, they don't make like clackety sounds, so your kids aren't like tempted to just like roll them across the room. So I really, really like these foam dice. Again, I already had them as a teacher. I don't know if I would have gone out and bought them specifically, but I already had them, so I like to use them. So that's just some materials we use to play games with. Then one thing that you really do need for this program is white note cards. So she recommends like a pack of 200 in her supply list. So we definitely use these. You can see like I made like tally flashcards and like count by 10 stuff. So you use these for a lot of different games and activities in this program. I do feel like this is one thing that people complain about with this program is how many different like note cards you have to make and keep up with. But I kind of found a solution to that, which is what I'm going to share next with you. So to kind of cut down on how much note cards I was having to make, I found these super awesome magnetic flashcards. I can't remember exactly how much they were, but I do feel like they were a little pricey for what they were, but honestly, I know we're going to get years and years and years of use out of these. But they're really heavy because they're magnetic. I didn't actually care about them being magnetic, but they kind of have it's nice because they're just really durable and they're heavy. So again, they're not going to be like sliding across the table. But what I love is that it shows the numbers like visually. So you see it has like the dots down there. So all of the different numbers it shows. And I just really, really love that about these. And it came with a bunch of numbers and it also came with the math symbols. I'm trying to find them. So like, you know, it also had like the minus and the plus and equal signs and things. So it made it really easy for us to practice like addition or act some different games out. And I just, again, I like that it had the visual on there. I like that they were durable and I didn't have to keep like remaking them. So this really cut down on me needing to make a bunch of flashcards because most of the time I just needed some basic numbers. So we are definitely utilizing these now and we'll continue to utilize these for this program. Another thing you're going to need is some play money. You'll need a little bit for the kindergarten year and then you'll need more, you know, in first grade. So I went ahead and got this little money jar from Learning Resources. It's so cute. It's like pretty small, you can see. So it doesn't take up a ton of space. And let me just open it up. And then it's got all your dollars in there. And then you do have some room for coins in there. But it just so happened that we have a lot of coins. Because I had another set before I bought this one. So we just have so many coins, they just don't fit in here. So I just have 2 bags now, which is fine. But if you just bought this one set, it would come with coins that fit in here. So yeah, coins and play money. And then pattern blocks are another thing you're going to need. You're going to be going over shapes and symmetry and things like that and patterns. So you will need some pattern blocks. Again, these are from Learning Resources. This came in like a set and it had some other like pattern activities with it. But honestly, to be honest, I kind of regret buying those because we never really used the other activities because I felt like Math with Confidence didn't need a lot of supplementation. So really you could just buy yourself a cheap pack of pattern blocks anywhere and it'd be fine. And then last thing you need is a clock for learning to tell time. So again, this was a set from Learning Resources that I bought. It came with some other things too, but I have a clock here and then here you can write like the digital clock and do the analog clock and it's got some clock dice. So just some kind of telling time things. Again, you don't need all of this, you just need a clock of some kind to help your child learn to tell time. So that's everything that I have in our math kit. So it's, again, it's not a lot. You can pick up all of this stuff for pretty cheap. You know, some of it I splurged a little bit on to get some nicer quality, but you can find a lot of this stuff at like the dollar store, Target Dollar Spot, Walmart, other places for pretty cheap. So definitely not an expensive program. And then the only other thing I bought, this is the only thing I used to supplement this program because again, I really did not feel like this program needed much supplementation. I feel like they did a really good job of building on itself. But the one thing that I felt like my son struggled with just a little bit was visualizing numbers, like being able to like look and, looking at 4 objects and being able to say, oh, that's 4 without having to count it, which is something that they spend a lot of time working on in Math with Confidence, but I felt like my son needed even more practice with that particular concept. So to help with that, I bought this tiny polka dot game. And guys, I cannot recommend this game enough, and not even just for the skill I was talking about. This game can be played so many different ways. So it comes with these little cards, and you can see that it represents the numbers in different ways. So it has like it as a number, it has it just as like random spots, it has it like in dice format and 10 frame format. So it's got a lot of different formats, and I'll kind of show you what it looks like. So let me pull out a few of these. So you can see like it shows the numbers in different ways. And so it's really good for kids to learn how to visualize numbers. But in addition to that, let's show a few more cards. But in addition to that, you are able to play so many games with this. Like, this is not a game that's just for kindergarten. This will be used throughout elementary because there are addition and subtraction games you can play with this. There's matching games, all kinds of things. So they come with little like cards that show you different games you can play. I don't even remember exactly how many it came with. Let me see what it says on the back. 16 different games it comes with. So this is for all ages. It says ages 3 to 8 and up. So I really think this will be used throughout our elementary years. And it's such a small, cheap game. So I really think this is something that we're going to use for a long time. And I definitely recommend it if you want to get a game to help, practice some math skills. This is one I definitely recommend picking up. And then I will say, kind of looking forward, I do plan to kind of buy like a board game each year to go with our math. And not so much because we need it, but just to add some more fun. And I feel like kids, for like fact fluency and stuff, it's good to have additional repetition. So like I picked up Sums in Space, which is a board game. I can't remember who's it by, but I'll try to remember to link it below. But it's like an addition and subtraction board game. So they're able to like practice their math facts without having to do like, big like drills or, boring worksheets. They can practice it with a board game and still get that same fact fluency. So that's just kind of what I plan to do, is just kind of buy a board game each year to kind of supplement math. And again, just to add extra fun and extra practice. Okay, so now let's talk about the not so great things about this program. And there's not much, because I really, really did love this program, guys. This was one of my curriculums that was a no-brainer for me, like for the next year. Like after finishing this kindergarten level, I didn't even have to think about what math curriculum we were going to use the next year. I knew we were going to be doing first grade Math with Confidence because we loved the kindergarten that much. However, no program is perfect. There's always going to be little things, depending on your child, that work better and don't work as good, For this program, I will say for the first third of it, I was really worried about it. So much so that I was thinking about switching math mid-year. That's how unsure of this program I was at the beginning. And the reason was because I felt like at the beginning of the program, it was moving pretty quickly. Now, granted, the concepts they're covering in the first third of the kindergarten level are really basic, recognizing numbers 1 to 10. They start at the very, very beginning for kindergarten math. So my son already knew most of the content. So it wasn't that he was struggling with the content, but I was nervous about it going so fast because I was thinking, oh my gosh, when we get to a concept he doesn't know, it's going to be so fast and he's not going to be able to learn it before we're moving on. And I was really concerned about that. But I will say that ended up not being an issue at all. And the reason was because one, when they get to some of the harder concepts like addition and subtraction, they spend weeks and weeks and weeks on it. It's not, 1 week and we're done, like maybe some of the other concepts were. And on top of that, I talked to you guys about that spiral review. That really does come into play as time goes on. And that's something that I really couldn't see at the beginning. But as the program went on, I started to see oh wow, we're revisiting this now, and this game here and this activity over here. And so we continue to revisit a lot of the concepts. So that spiral review really did work out. And I can tell you, I told you guys that on the kindergarten level, they only have the one workbook page. In first grade, they have 2. So they have a review spiral page and then something that goes with a new concept lesson. So I know that there's going to continue to be more review, more practice as the grades get higher. So, and again, all the stuff that's covered in kindergarten is going to be covered in first grade again, just more in depth. So once I kind of started realizing all of this spiral and this extra review, I worried a lot less about that. But I just wanted to give you guys a heads up with that. If you're starting this program and thinking, wow, they're going pretty fast through some of this, It's only because they're starting with some simple stuff at the beginning. It does slow down as you get to the more complicated stuff, and you do start to see that spiral review working with your child. But that was just one thing that concerned me. The only other really gripe I had about this program was the note cards, like I mentioned. That was something that was kind of hard to keep up with at first, because it'd be like one lesson you'd be making tally cards, and one lesson you'd be making like 2 sets of 10, and and so you had like all of these different note cards, and it was hard to keep up with, like, okay, what was this set for? What was that set? And I got better as time went on. I started to like label my stuff and put them with like paper clips so I could keep stuff up together. And then again, I bought this magnetic card, so I didn't have to make as many. But the note cards were definitely like the one thing that did require just a little bit of prep. And again, you could do it right there with your kid. It doesn't take that long to write some numbers on note cards. But that was one thing that did take a little bit of keeping up with, more so than I would have liked. And then that was really it, guys. I do think that if your kid is struggling with a concept with this, it can sometimes be hard to know exactly how to help them. She does have checkpoints in your instructor's guide. So like let me see if I can find one. Oh, and I think I forgot to mention this, but they do have answer keys, by the way, in here for the student workbook. Let me see. There we go. Okay, so they have these little checkpoints. Like this is Unit 4 checkpoint. And it'll tell you, what should you expect your child to be able to do at into this unit, and is your child ready to move on? So it'll tell you like what things and what concepts your kids should have mastered, and what things it's okay for them to have not mastered yet and still practice. So if your child reaches this checkpoint and they're missing something off the master list, they do have some like recommended little like games to play down here, like what to do if your child needs more practice. But I will say, there was, I think maybe once or twice we got to this point and there was like 1 or 2 things that my son hadn't fully mastered that it said you should have. And, the few games were nice. Like it's great that they at least, offered something. But it's like, if your child really, really is struggling with the concept, 1 or 2 games is not going to be enough. And really the only concept that I feel like my son really needed extra practice on was that, visualizing numbers. And that's what we got this for. So I think, if you can kind of look ahead to think about what your child might struggle with and get something like this to kind of help supplement, that was really, really helpful. So the way I ended up doing it is I would just pull this out as part of our warm-up every day. In fact, sometimes I would even skip the warm-up that they had offered, like because some of their spiral review, right? So if the spiral review was like reviewing patterns, and my son is like totally great on patterns but needs more practice with addition, then I might sub that and do the warm-up with addition instead of doing it, with the patterns. So that's the way I ended up using it if my kid was struggling with anything. But I really do feel like in like the higher grades in this program, like I already have the first grade bought for next year. I've already looked through it, and I can already see that there's going to be a lot more practice and a lot more review in first grade. So I do think this might be only a kindergarten math with confidence issue. And that's just because, Kate Snow, the author, I think was really intentional about making kindergarten, fun, short, and sweet. And so it just doesn't go as deep, as much practice as you'll see in some of the upper grades. And I think that's good. I think that's developmentally appropriate. So that's just one thing to be aware of. If you do feel like your kid's going to struggle with some of these concepts, you might want to have some extra things planned to kind of throw into the warm-up or whatever, if you don't feel like just those few games will be enough to review. And that's really it, guys. That is my full review of Math with Confidence. We do really love this program. I think it's really, really great. And I've just been so impressed with how my son is working with numbers and using numbers and manipulating numbers. You will use those 10 frames like I talked about. They have them in the back of the book. They're called Black Line Masters. So they have like a number chart. There's like how to write your numbers. And so you can make copies of these. There's a 10 frame to use. And they actually, I almost forgot to mention this, they actually have paper versions of your pattern blocks too. So if you're really, really on a budget, she did include those in here, and she actually included some play money as well. So if you're somebody who's super, super on a tight budget, this program really, really is good and affordable and has a lot of resources for you. So I hope this was helpful, guys. I hope you enjoyed seeing through this program. We really, really love this program, and hopefully you will too. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments below, and I will see you guys in my next video.